Welcome to the amazing collection, the Bible for Women, book by book, and I'm so glad you could join us today. The book of Jeremiah is an incredible book, and Jeremiah is an incredible man. So it will be a treat for you to read about this man's great courage, his incredible faith, and his perseverance for God. When we come to the book of Jeremiah, Jeremiah is a man who knows that destruction is near. He loves the people dearly. He is doing everything he can to turn them back to the ways of the Lord, and they will not listen. And so he has the pain of watching them take this path, and he will have the pain of seeing them absolutely destroyed in a horrible, horrible way. The book of Jeremiah was written by Jeremiah. He is the main character. He is all over the book. But like every book that we've studied, God really is the main character. It covers a period of time that is really the last 40 years of Judah. If you look in Kings 22 through 25, it's that historical area that Jeremiah is prophesying to. If you look in your workbooks, you will find that the first one there is King Josiah reigned 31 years and brought about a spiritual revival. When Jeremiah came on the scene, Josiah was king. And if you remember from our historical books, Josiah was the finest king Judah ever had. He loved the Lord. And he really single-handedly turned the whole nation from evil back to the Lord. And for his reign, which was 31 years, he got rid of all the idol worship. The nation prospered. Things were wonderful. And it was during this time that God appointed Jeremiah to speak. With King Josiah, one thing that was, I guess it's about the only mistake he ever made, during the last of his 31 years, Egypt was a world power. Egypt was to the west of Judah. The northern area was occupied by Babylon, and they were becoming more and more powerful. Egypt decided to take on Babylon. And so they started up the coast. When Josiah heard about this, he became afraid and took his army out to meet Egypt. There was a battle, and Josiah was killed in that battle. Egypt now decided that they were going to take over Judah and started marching to Jerusalem. At that time, the people raised up a second king. It was Josiah's son, Jehoahaz. Now, he was not the oldest son. He was the middle son, but the people chose him and put him on the throne. Let me just tell you something. It is not a good thing to be made king when one of the largest armies in the world is advancing on your city. And so it was really too bad for Jehoahaz. He was a king only for 3 months. When Egypt arrived, took him off the throne, sent him off to Egypt where he died, and they put the firstborn son on the throne, and his name was Jehoiakim. Now, wouldn't you think they could come up with different names? I tell you, like Frank, Bob, it would be so much easier to keep these guys separate, you know? But Jehoiakim was an evil king, even though he had a good father. And idol worship began to come back into the land in full force, and the people turned from the living God, and they turned to idols which are empty. Jeremiah says it so well. He said they went after empty things, and they became empty. He was a king for 11 years. He was paying tribute to Egypt, but he was very hard on the people. Not only did he tax them for their tribute, he taxed them because he decided he wanted to build a palace. Was there a palace for him? Absolutely. Was it good enough? Apparently not, because he started taxing the people and forcing them to build his palace. And Jeremiah really pronounces a curse on him for doing that very thing. After 11 years, he decides that he is going to rebel against Egypt. Egypt starts in, heads back up towards Babylon. There is yet another war. This time Babylon reigns. Babylon starts down to take over Jerusalem again about the time that Jehoiakim dies. Natural causes. And once more we have another king on the throne when a huge army is coming into town. Jehoiachin is now king. He is only king for 3 months. Babylon comes into town, takes him off to Babylon, and when they do, they take some of their finest men. In the first deportation, Daniel is taken away, along with all of the very finest men in Jerusalem. And you will read about Daniel very soon. The second deportation, Ezekiel is taken away. And so they are taking the finest from the land back to Babylon. Babylon puts King Zedekiah on the throne, and he is going to reign for 11 years, and he is not the smartest one in the region, I'm convinced. You would think these kings would start catching on that it's not a good thing to rebel against the person who's in charge. And yet he leads a rebellion also against Babylon, and after 11 years, even though there were prophets saying, don't go into battle with Babylon. Surrender to Babylon. Jeremiah was speaking it so clearly. Zedekiah would not listen. And Babylon came down, laid a siege around the city. Now, here's what a siege is, in case you've forgotten. The army comes into town. They set their men up all around the city wall, and they just wait. They don't have to fight because they are starving the people out. No food can come in, no water can come in, no goods can come in, no provisions. And if you just wait long enough, they're going to run out of food. 18 months. And at the end of 18 months, the people were killing their own children, their own babies, and eating them. Do you know it was exactly what God said in the book of Deuteronomy 2,000 years before? He said, if you turn from me, I will see to it that a nation will come down. They will live in your houses that you built. They're going to eat the goods of your land, the food of your land. They're going to lay a siege around you, and you will eat your own children. He said that 2,000 years before. It should have been a good warning. But as we have learned in this book, the people will not learn. And they were eating their own children. The wall was finally broken in July 586 BC. The Babylonians came in, and what was left of the people who had not died of pestilence and famine, now many were killed by the sword, just like the Lord had said would happen. The temple was utterly destroyed. That temple had stood for 400 years and represented God in the presence, in the center of Judah. And now the temple where they had put their hope was gone. That's what's taking place when our man Jeremiah is speaking to the people. It is a time of incredible upheaval, and it ends in a time of unbelievable destruction for the people in Judah. So who is this man Jeremiah? You will find that this little book has a lot to say about his life. Some of the prophets really just, you can't tell much about their life because they're not telling you. They're just prophesying. But in Jeremiah, you're going to learn a lot about him as a man. First of all, if you will open to the book of Jeremiah, right off the bat, Jeremiah tells you how this whole thing got started, and it's quite an unusual beginning, to say the least. In the beginning, he tells you the kings that he is a prophet during their time, that he is prophesying to all of these kings, and then he's going to give you an idea of how he became a prophet. God says in verse 5, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, Jeremiah." Isn't that amazing? That even before he formed him, he knew him. And before you were born, Jeremiah, I consecrated you. I have appointed you to be a prophet to all of the nations. This was not good news to Jeremiah. And he says, Lord, I'm just a kid. I'm just a youth, Lord, not me. And besides, I can't speak. You see, he was asking him not to just speak to a few of his friends. He was asking him to speak to whole nations. And Jeremiah said, not me, Lord. You've heard that before. Remember Moses at the burning bush saying, not me, not me. And it's just amazing that we learned then and we can learn today that you should not argue with the living God because he is going to win. He wanted Jeremiah, and it was going to be Jeremiah who did the job. And God gives him some very good reasons. He said, everywhere I send you, you will go. Everything I tell you to speak, you're going to speak. And don't worry, Jeremiah, because I am with you to deliver you. Now that just seems to me the way God works. Don't worry about a thing, honey. If you've got the living God on your side, do not fear. He is with you and he will deliver you. And that is exactly what he said to Jeremiah. Jeremiah came from a family of priests. And that also is a little hint as to why he really didn't want to be a prophet. You see, if you're a priest, it's really not a bad job because your duties are very predictable. You know exactly what you're to do and you can just do it every day. With a prophet, and Jeremiah knew the history of some of the prophets, you never knew what God was going to have you do, and some of the things God would have his prophets do were things that you wouldn't want to sign up for. And Jeremiah knew that. You know, the priests were there really to just make sure that the present ran smoothly. But a prophet was there to speak and change the future. This was a much harder job. The priests really took care of the things that were external. They're easy to do. But a prophet had to change man's heart. That was a lot harder. If you were a priest, you came from a tribe that was very respected. I mean, people thought a lot about you. But prophet came from all different tribes and you were hardly ever respected. In fact, oftentimes you were hated. You know why? No one likes to be told that they're not doing right. Is that not the truth? Have you ever had a friend that was sinning? Let's say they're drinking too much. And you go to them and you say, honey, I think you're drinking too much. Chances are what they will do is laugh at you, tell all of their friends what a prude you are, turn the friends against you, and all of a sudden you've tried to do right and you've become the laughingstock of the neighborhood because you're really not with it. And that's exactly what a prophet had to do. He had to say to the people, turn back. You are sinning, and nobody likes to hear that. What people like is good news. And so that's just some of the difference between a priest and a prophet. Another thing is that a priest had a regular and good income, and a prophet never knew how he was going to make his livelihood. So when God comes and says, I'd like you to be a prophet, Jeremiah had a lot of good reasons for saying, not me, sir. Can I just be a priest? I just like that job a lot. And yet God said, no, you're going to be a prophet. Another thing God told Jeremiah, and I think this is especially painful, he told him he could not marry